Welcome to a video. This video is about brewing a dark strong Belgian ale, a Westvleteren 12 clone attempt to be exact. And why I say attempt, there's a couple tweaks here and there, a couple of different things I'm gonna do. But yeah, let's get started. Spiderweb in my kettle. If there's a spider in there, then it shall be part of the beer. I haven't brewed in like a month, so what are you gonna do? So the recipe for this, I was going back and forth on kind of what to do here. I seen people do just 2-row or Pilsner malt and then just candy syrup. So I decided on this one to kind of throw a little bit of some other malts in there. Some Caramunich, that's at like 5%. I then got some chocolate malt that's at 3%, and then I got Special B at 2.5%. So very small amounts, and the rest is just 2-row. I found that if I just do some hybrid of Pilsner malt 2-row, I'm not gonna notice a difference. It'd be very, very interesting to see like 100% base Pilsner malt with 2-row split to see if there could be a difference between the two in taste and flavor. If it is, it's probably very, very, very subtle. And I am gonna hit this at the end with some candy syrup. Got D180, not in the boil, just right at flameout. So that'll add, the rest of the color and, the richness and all the sugars that I need to bring this up. I also saw some recipes where they did like a ton of different malts, like 5 to 6 different dark malts, specialty malts. I want to scale it down. I was actually very tempted to do just Pilsner and D180 candy syrup, to be honest. But I couldn't quite bring myself to do that. But I bet it would be okay doing that. I mean, it'd be worth a shot at least. All right, so that's mashed in. Next, I'm going to add some salts to this. Target salts is going to be about 80 ppm worth of chloride and about 40 ppm worth of sulfate. Calcium is probably around 50 also, somewhere around there. But I'm using gypsum and calcium chloride. So calcium is going to be what it is with what I'm adding for the sulfate and the chloride. So I'm going to add that now. You know what? I haven't taken a pH reading in a while. Let's do that. All right, look at that. Dark grain can lower your pH, and I think there might be just enough to kind of get me close. 5.3, 5.2 is kind of normally where I like to be. But whatever, 5.4, I'm going to leave it. It's good enough. $10.53. Going for $10.55 pre-boil. Yeah, close enough. Before we continue, I want to give a shout out to Monrovia Homebrew Supply. The one near me closed down. Had to go out there a little farther, but they were really awesome. Great stuff, great staff. Jose helped me out. He was fantastic. But we were discussing hops and what hops to use for this. And I think we came up with something pretty good. So the hops I have are Magnum and Fuggles. And I was talking to Jose at the Monrovia Homebrew Supply store, and we were kind of discussing it, and they didn't have Brewer's Gold, which is okay. So I was thinking maybe Chinook, because I've seen that as alternates before. But Magnum came up, and I was like, oh, maybe try some Magnum. And it's kind of what was chosen. So when it goes for 60 minutes, so let's discuss a little more on these hops and why it was chosen. So Magnum hops on average have a myrcene oil content of about 30%. And Brewer's Gold is the hops I wanted initially, and their myrcene oil content is closer to like 65% on average. Chinook is another comparable one you could do, as I said earlier, but the myrcene oil content was about the same for Chinook as it is for Magnum. But it is kind of important if you're gonna do these hop substitutes to kind of watch those oils. can add some Fuggles. 10 minutes left in the boil. Something I will say, some people pull off like 3/4 of a gallon, boil that down to like a molassesy, maybe just more like a syrupy, maybe not quite that low, but they boil it way down, then add that back in. I'm going to use my D180 as doing that instead, though you could do both, maybe add more richness, maltiness, sort of carameliness to what you're doing. For what it's worth, if you want to add that step into it, I'm not doing it this time. It's an option. All right, I got 1 full pound of the D180. I'm gonna add the whole thing. So that would be 1 pound for 2 gallons, or 2.25 gallons to be exact for what it boils at right now. And in it goes. So that's a flame out. The boil's off, it's done. Now I'm gonna recirculate. There it is. Let's take a gravity reading now that the brewery day's over. Let's see where we're at. 1080. A little shy. I could, of course, buy some more D180 and add a little more during fermentation. I'm very tempted to do that. All right, I have here the WLP 530. Very, very, very common yeast for this. Hold on. I only need like a half a pack for my 1 gallon. This here says 3 pure packets, or pure pitches as they call it, for 1065 or higher. So if I'm at like 1080, I mean, probably even 3/4 of a packet will do. I might even dump the whole thing in there because I can't really save these packs very well. Especially if I'm going to add some candy syrup to this. More candy syrup, I should say. All right, I did the whole pack. So what I'm going to do though is also agitate probably day 2 in fermentation. At the same time, I'm probably going to add more syrup. At this point, I'm just going to probably do it. And by probably, I mean I will. And a way to ferment this also, I think the best way is to slowly step up fermentation. So start at like 65 degrees Fahrenheit, 63 some people do. Then every day kind of ramp up to get to be about 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Some go as high as 80. That seems to be a good result for a lot of people doing this kind of style. I'm going to do the same thing. It's been 24 hours. Fermentation has not started, so it's not going exactly according to plan. I'm going to rouse the yeast back into suspension here. Hopefully that does it. I might just give it a pure shot of oxygen to get it going. But I, just want to let you know where it's at to begin the fermentation. Let's keep going. So looking at my lower gravity on this, it does appear to be that I had the candy sugar gravity set at 1046. The packaging says 1032. So everything else was right. I just didn't have that calculated in there. So that's why my gravity was short. It all makes sense. So I am going to add a half a pound of more candy syrup, D180, and step up the fermentation temperature by 1 degree. Well, we have a problem. It's a minor one though. It's not a big deal. But this thing went hog wild. Take a look at the damage that was done by the yeast. The airlock popped off. No big deal though. We'll clean it up and put it back in. be ready to bottle this. I got my bottles ready to go. I got my bottling bucket ready to go. PBW'd all of it this time. Really taking care. Really want to get this right. By the way, there was some brown stuff coming out of the bottles when I did a PBW on it. I should do that a lot more often. I have been getting some bottle bombs recently, and I think that will be why. So I'm doing 0.35 ounces of priming sugar for this 1 gallon. I usually do 0.4 ounces per gallon. As I said, I've been having some carbonation issues. So it could be a dirty bottle. I also just want to dial it back a hair. I want this to be a little richer, though I know Belgian beers tend to be a little higher in carbonation. Feels like it's going to be a good amount. Yeah, I'm going to do that now. Now that I've bottled, let's take a gravity reading. Those who follow my channel know I almost never do this, and by almost never, I mean I never do this. So I'm taking a final gravity reading. It's a very exciting moment. Let's see what it turned out. You would think for an Abbey yeast, a Belgian yeast in particular, that it would be lower than that. I would imagine this would be closer to like 1010. Maybe adding the more candy syrup during fermentation pushed it up to like 1090. My calculation said it would be about 1085, though fermentation had already started, so I didn't really take a gravity reading after it started, but I added more sugar to it. So that could be about right. But there it is. That's the gravity reading. I'll throw the percent of alcohol of what that probably might be or could be right here. I'm going to do the tasting in a different video. Those who want to send me a Belgian Dark Strong Ale or a Westvleteren 12, please email me and I will compare mine with yours. If no one wants to send anything, no big deal. I'll taste it on my own. So stay tuned for that video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Good.